Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.
All right. Well, we are picking up in the teachings. We're on the cultivation of bodhicitta, the great compassion. There's an introduction to the 7-point cause and result method. So there's two fundamental methods taught in Vajrayana Buddhism on bodhicitta. One is equalizing and exchanging self for others. The other is this 7-point cause and result. And so it's really a series of contemplations. We really get a realization at the first one. I get that. It moves me to the second level. Then I achieve some realization there and move my way through. They listed a summary of the 7. The 7th is actually bodhicitta. And then as soon as they give you a number like 7, they tell you, what? There's another step. So the first one's really equanimity, 0. And so we just spent last, I think, three sessions or so on equanimity. And now we're coming into this first step here, or second, depending on how you look at it. The thing to remember is bodhicitta, this great compassion, is this fuel in which we can radically change our lives and very quickly eliminate a lot of suffering, a lot of unnecessary mental and emotional afflictions. And if we understand it in the process of where's most of my mental, emotional suffering coming from, Buddhism would say all of it, but just I think we can agree on most, is self-centeredness. I am separate. I am me, you are you, and I pretty much see the world whether you're doing something I like or something I don't like. You're pleasing me, you're not pleasing me. The world's not the way I would like it, and we're going to have all this worry, fear, and concern around my house, my friends, the things I get to do, the things I don't get to do, the things that feel good, the things that don't feel good. In all of this, who's the center of the universe? Right here. And fundamentally, that's not how we exist anyway, right? I exist in dependence upon everyone else. And a lot of people I don't like had something to do with the water I get to drink today. I have everything to do with my education, my clothing, my food, just everything about me. So we've covered that quite a few times, but we can talk about it all day long and walk right out of this room. This is my freaking cell phone. Okay. There's me and mine, you and yours, and it gets really messy. And so if we start to understand, and we did all that on equanimity, about the value of each other, well, compassion, if we understand compassion is the desire to remove suffering. So I don't really want to suffer. And this moves it towards not just removing my own suffering. One of the best ways to remove my own suffering is to stop just reinforcing this egoic sense of self that doesn't really exist in the way I'm clinging to it. Seeking happiness in things that can't give it, and worrying that I won't get the happiness that I want from things that can't give it to me anyway. It's a vicious cycle. And we're really good at it. Because it makes sense, right? Laura tempted me that she was going to make cherry pie tonight. I'm not sure it's really going to happen, but I got kind of worked up about it, yeah. Yeah. She was gifted some sour cherries, they're just sitting on the table every day, just waiting. Nothing's happening with them. They just sit there. Yeah. They'd make a beautiful pie. So, you know, and then the desire, even if you get what you want, how long does that last, right? Comes and it goes. And then, the things that we have now that we really aspire to get once, sometimes they're just not things we have now. I want this other thing. And, we start to notice that these things, these activities, these events give us a short-term pleasure. And then I can still be worried that I won't get that pleasure again. Then I need to worry about my house, worry about the things that I want. And, and this cycle is just trying to chase things, the worldly concerns, as though they can actually provide us this stability that we would like. And so that creates a lot of mental emotional suffering. So I don't exist in that way. Those can't give me that happiness. What it can provide some pleasure, and there's nothing wrong with pleasure, like cherry pie, for example. Nothing wrong with it. It's good. And it can provide the circumstances and conducive environment to grow the inner realizations, the love, the care that we want. It's how we can have healthy relationships and, have a job that supports the things that we do and the activities we engage in. And then those activities become so much richer when I'm connected to the people that I'm with and the things I'm doing and appreciating what I get to do and understand the difference between a connected understanding of our collective welfare or suffering instead of a very center of the universe world where everything I experience is good or bad or indifferent based on me and whether I get to feel good or not. And so compassion for oneself is starting to live in reality for one. That's going to eliminate a lot of suffering. And then be realizing the opportunity that we have because of others. And when we're a part of something instead of the center of it, we have a role to play. We have stuff to do. We have purpose. And just straight up psychology, the more purpose and meaning you have in life, the better you feel about who you are. Nothing Buddhist about that, just the way it is. And fundamentally, Buddhism is about how it is. So if I can start developing compassion for myself, it means I'm going to start doing things that eliminate suffering instead of self-centeredness that creates more worry, fear, anxiety, and stress. And so now I start turning my mind to others because I'm a part of others. And you give life to me, I give life to you. We exist in this way, a very dependent way. And we may notice that when I'm doing things with purpose, being of service, having meaning in my life, I'm not usually in as much mental, emotional suffering or pain. I'm out of myself. That's a saying. A lot of recovery programs, get out of yourself, right? Be of service, do something good, do something you feel good about. So compassion fundamentally is actually the core teaching of the Buddha. Truth of suffering, cause of suffering. Well, compassion is about removing suffering. Cessation, third noble truth. You can end it. And the fourth is the Noble Eightfold Path, how we eliminate suffering. And so this method on bodhicitta, this great compassion, is a step above. It's this aspiration that all beings be free of suffering, all beings. And I'm here to do that. So big task, right? Big task. And so we just kind of need to meet ourselves where we're at, Yeah, I'd love for everybody to be free of suffering, except Jimmy. Yeah. What he did to me in 8th grade. That's the whole thing. But, we have this sort of dualistic mind. I want happiness for all beings, and I get angry and frustrated at others. So, there's these stages that we can cultivate that will help bring a real understanding and compassion towards others. And in the process, I suffer less. And the first level is what they say is often the most difficult. We worked on equanimity, and now get to move back into the text. And the first of the 7 cause and result is seeing all beings as having been our mother. I'm going to read the text rather than a little prelude to this, but we're going to approach it from a few different sides. And move my little pop-up. Okay. This is the first of the 7 steps and is said to be one of the most difficult meditations in the entire Lam Rim. So it takes 2 weeks instead of 1. Okay. It is based on the concept that we have had beginningless previous lives and have been in every possible relationship with every being. The Buddha spoke about this in a discourse found in the Pali Canon. Bhikkhus, that would be monks. This samsara is without discoverable beginning. A first point is not discerned of beings roaming and wandering on, hindering by ignorance and fettering by craving. It is, it is not easy, bhikkhus, to find a being who in this long course has not previously been your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter. Since, as the Buddha said, we and other beings have been in various types of relationships, why focus on that of a mother and child? This becomes clear in the following meditation on the kindness of mothers. I'm just going to pause there first. So Buddhism is very logical, actually. And so if one were to look back and go, when did the world begin? You know, of course, scientists would say there's a big bang and stuff. And then, well, where'd that come from? What was there to cause that? And then you said there has to be a cause, there has to be a result. There had to be something even before that that gave rise to that. So it couldn't be a beginning. It's a result. And there was something. And then you go back and then, so you start thinking in terms of maybe worlds even before this world or this big bang and cause and result. And so fundamentally, you can't find a starting point. How can you find a starting point? Can something come from nothing? Then it's hard to find something that came from nothing. It's that chicken or egg thing, right? And so beginningless time means can't really create something from nothing. And so there's not a real answer for that. So you say beginningless time because you don't really know how to explain it. But what can we deduce? Well, we can deduce that there's cause and there's result. And in Buddhism, it's really talked about this idea that samsara that we're experiencing, this conditioned existence, is really our state of mind. It's my state of mind. As my mind becomes more clear, sees things differently, samsara can actually become nirvana. Nirvana is not a different place. I just experience all of this very differently. And so it's really about purifying the mind and understanding ourselves better. And so if we start to put that into perspective, then we, whether we talk about Big Bang or the cosmos, we can sit here and be very, we live on Earth. We're human. And it's very hard for us to grasp that we've ever been anything else. And it's pretty hard to think about that. Until you take a moment and I don't know how many billions or trillions of universes they found. But I mean, just the idea that there's at least another billion universes out there lets me know I don't really know much about all the life in the cosmos. I just don't. I just know this little bit here. And then I'm hoping I have cherry pie. So, I'm real focused on that. I can understand it's very tangible. And so in Buddhism, we talk about a continuity of consciousness, meaning this body will die. Does our consciousness die? Or does the consciousness continue and just start seeing itself differently? And that's pretty much what Buddhism says. Consciousness doesn't, didn't come from nowhere, and it doesn't You just think about physics and stuff. It doesn't, how can it just go away like that? And so the body dies, and one starts seeing themselves differently. And based upon the karma and the conditioning, sort of the imprints, the way we've habitually seen ourselves, the things that we've done, we start seeing ourselves, in this way that we've been habituated. And at some point, start seeing ourselves in a new form. And it could be a little kid crawling around, whatever that form becomes, right? Now, with that logic and reasoning, and it's not just logic and reason in that sense. There's practices where achieving a state of shamatha can tap into that substrate consciousness where all of those imprints are, and can actually look back and see. And so the Buddha did that, and people in this lifetime can do that. It's actually not. It's not even enlightenment. It's not that radical. You just have to dedicate a couple of years of practice and achieve that uh, ability to just rest in just the very nature of mind, of this mind, where the ground of becoming of how we see ourselves. And then you could tap in and look at that. Now, having said that, that all may sound like a bunch of woo-woo. So I'm like, yeah, it's a bunch of woo-woo. I'm a human being. I got this one life. And when this body dies, that's that. So the most important thing is don't adopt something just because. What makes sense? Does it make sense? Is it just this body is the consciousness? Um, just an emanation from this mind-body thing that we're doing? Or was there consciousness that started, seeing itself in this body? Neuroscientists now pretty much state that there's a difference between the brain and consciousness. So there's progress there. This is, an organ with chemicals, electricity. It's correlated very much to our consciousness. And you think something happens here. You do something here, something here. It's correlated. So here we are in this mind, in this body. And if one, let's just take the idea that, I'm pretty comfortable with consciousness continues. I've been born many times. Then the Buddha has this real simple, straightforward logic. If someone was nice to you in this lifetime and have helped you, let's say they helped you out last week, it was really helpful. And then someone else that had helped you out 10 years ago in a big way, did something really good for you. Is the person who helped you out today any more important than the person who helped you out 10 years ago? And most people say, no, that thing in 10 years was valuable. This is valuable. So they go, okay, so your mother in this lifetime was very helpful. And she gave birth to you and did all these things. Is she any more important than the mother of a previous lifetime? I mean, who took care of you and did all these things? You probably were sick and all that, changed diapers, whatever, or whatever form you were in. And, people logically go, no, that mother in that lifetime is probably just as important. So the idea here is people who, raised in this culture, rebirth is just normal. I mean, you're just raised in the culture. Of course there's rebirth. Like, it just makes sense. It's just, how you're, the culture, right? And so then the meditation is, I've been born immeasurable times. I've been interacting. We've all been, in this cycle of things at some point. We've all done something together, mother, father, whatever. And that's the idea that one gets the realization that everyone I meet at some time in some lifetime, has been at least helpful to me, if not been my mother. And if you can go mother thing, that's the pinnacle. And so that's the traditional approach. Now, Western minds, we think we know stuff. So I say, okay, first off, my mom wasn't that nice. second off, blah, blah, lots of things that we can come up with. And then I don't know about this whole other life thing, so it's hard for me to have any faith in that. Right? And the key to Buddhism is not to adopt blind faith. It's not helpful. It's just not. You need to really sink in with stability to what you discover. And faith is built on a reasoning, discernment, and direct experience. That's where it comes from. So I'm in this body, regular human guy. When I die, that's that. How do I start seeing everybody as having been my mother? And a very simple way is everyone you meet is giving you the life that you have. They're giving birth to you every day. And that's pretty concrete, right? Even the people we don't like are the reason we have a job sometimes. And every word we use, English was taught to me. I speak English, speak a different language. Those languages are developed. Writing was developed. You just go back through time, and everything about even our genes and how we evolved came from others who went before us, and all of our education, everything we think, everything we say, everything we do, nothing is independent. I haven't had a single original thought in my life because anything I could base an original thought on came from something I learned. And then I have a little epiphany. In my case, it's usually a duh epiphany, but you get one and you're like, whoa. But somebody else has said it. And and I only said it because people have taught me words and language and thinking and give me some knowledge and some experience. So there's nothing independent here anyway. And everyone I meet is giving life to me, adding to my life, adding to the quality of my life. And so you might start with a very simple way of recognizing that others are, providing life to you, giving birth to you every day. The fact that we can turn on electricity and have some heating, some shelter. How many people know who built your home? I actually know who built mine. Laura did. So, but generally, I don't know. Yeah, didn't do it alone, and you probably didn't make the nails. Didn't make the nails. So I don't know who made the nails. And, so everything about us is created by others we've never met who lived in times way before us and so forth. And so in that way, we can start seeing others and appreciating their contribution to our life. That might be a good starting point. I mean, just imagine if we just treat everybody like that. Yeah, thanks for giving me life. Appreciate that. Could you stop being a jerk now? But, I still appreciate you. And just that very baseline to start where we're at. So for there, that's a good place. I mean, that's immeasurable right there. And then if someone does get a conviction in terms of, rebirth, then, they can go further with that. But I think that this really solid base of recognizing how others give us the life that we have, even the people we don't like, and that everyone else is, with equanimity, realize they're struggling their own way, and have their own sufferings from a self-centeredness in a way they don't exist, and they're trying to be happy like us. Well, then there's a lot more room for compassion and understanding in how I interact with everybody. So those are a couple ways of approaching this. Then she's going to get to this point about some people, mothers were not the best role for them, right? Because that happens. Typically, in general, across cultures, mothers are the ones with the undying love. They're the ones that would do anything to make sure you're okay. They put their life on the line and do all that. But of course, sometimes mothers have their own struggles and problems and haven't been able to do such things. So she's going to touch on that in the text here. Oops. Pop. Yeah. Spill water on my computer. There we go. Some people have no trouble recognizing and appreciating their mother's kindness, but others have experienced difficulties in their relationship with their mother. And for them, just thinking or hearing the word mother can trigger anger or tears, other big emotions as well. For such people, it may be more effective to meditate on the second point of this method, the kindness of mothers, before the first. So the second step here is reflecting on the kindness. First, seeing everybody as having been your mother. Second one, remembering their kindness, see how they've helped you. And so sometimes in order to uh, get to that point with a mom, because I'm focused on what she didn't do right, maybe I can start focus on what she did do right. And so there's a lot of things that all of our mothers did, if we're still alive anyway, because they did give life to us, and probably dressed us at some point, fed us at some point. There's a lot of things that they did do that I may not give any attention to because I'm focusing on this thing that they didn't do. And then there's the blame game, which I find most fascinating, which I shared recently. I don't know if it was here. Probably another thing is, parents, there's a good be mad, blame mom and dad. So if you want to be mad, blame mom and dad, because they're the reason I'm mad. They're the reason I can't do this. They're the reason I have these issues. Uh, and so all the things that I don't like about myself, it's because my mom or my dad, right? But what's interesting is I never give them credit for all the things I feel good about. All the things I can accomplish and all my capacity and all my resiliency and any talent I have, I don't blame them for that. But the things that I don't feel good about, it's pretty much their fault. And so there's a real interesting, selective progress. Yeah, I have intimacy issues. Well, that's because they didn't hug me right. The fact that I can walk and talk and dance, have ability and talent and read and write, well, that has nothing to do with them, right? Uh, so real interesting how we can pin that. So she's recommending, if you're having one of those issues, maybe go to the second step, which probably be next Wednesday, about really reflecting on the kindnesses that they have. And in that way, sometimes you can reach a deeper appreciation of your parent and maybe some of the struggles they've gone through. Because if they're not treating you very well, they're struggling, right? They've had their issues, and you might go back to your grandparents and so forth and all that. I've been in men's groups where, people just teary-eyed about forgiving their father for some of the abuse when they've learned how their father was treated and treated them and the things that they're subjected to. And you kind of find out people struggle is why they give struggling. If you have pain, you tend to give it. So that's a little tip that she's offering here in the text. And then she has another comment there, which I find a little amusing. Um, so you might meditate on the second point, kindness to mothers before the first, because they may never have thought about what their mother did for them and only remember the bad times. Okay, I already went on to that. One man I met had been physically and emotionally abused by his mother when he was a child. He severed all ties with her when he left home. 20 years on, he heard his mother was ill and had no one to take care of her. Her severe anger had alienated all other family members. He felt the compassionate wish to help her, but was still hurt and angered by his childhood experiences. When he learned the meditation on the kindness of mothers, he thought this could help him heal the wounds and be able to reach out to her. So in this, specific thing, he went through that process. Likewise, if your relationship with your mother brings up painful or negative feelings, you might try meditating on her kindness before contemplating that all other beings have been your mother. Otherwise, that might lead you to feel angry at everyone. Hadn't really thought that one through, but yeah, uh, yeah, everyone's been my mean mother. Yeah, that would be. difficult. So if you're raised by someone other than your mother, such as your father, a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle, simply replace mother with in the meditation with whomever was your primary caregiver. And so it's an easy substitution. Someone who's really cared for you, just seeing that care in other people. There is something that they'll say that if you have a difficult relationship with your mother, there's something very healing if you can heal that in some way that just universally, radically changes our way of being. Sometimes possible, sometimes not. I've had a lot of people I've worked with who, nearly, have actually. I mean, this one guy, amazing man. He was beaten and abused by his dad, raised very violently. Brothers, prison, violence, he's beaten and, all this kinds of stuff. And never even, was, educated and didn't read, and wound up in violence, prison, got out of prison. And he learned how to read in prison. And he found recovery, and stopped using drugs, became a mentor, and attend some retreats that I do. And really kind man, been through it. And his dad, this abusive, person, was in a very similar situation. I can't take care of himself, getting near the end of his life. And he went to take care of his dad. And, all that anger and all that stuff was there. And would talk to him and hear about his dad's struggles. And he changed his dad's diapers. And towards the end had an experience of just giving love, and saw him to the end, and he said it was one of the most transformative things in his life. So, things like that can happen. You don't have to grab the pillow and smother. Just, I'm here for you, and you have that opportunity. So, so if it can be healed, it's wonderful, because the karma is very strong with parents, with family. The closer the person, a lot of karma. So if you can heal that, it's radically transformative. So that's helpful if you can. Very helpful. Not always possible. Some Tibetan prayers contain the phrase "mother sentient beings." For example, "I will free all mother sentient beings from suffering and place them in the great bliss of Buddhahood." So this bodhicitta motivation. Most Tibetans seem to readily accept this notion that every sentient being has once been their mother. And so again, culturally, it just makes sense to them. And, they typically refer to any old Tibetan female as Amala, mother, Amala, mother. You see everyone as an elder. Bala, father. And they just do it to, not really your father, but Bala, to, just how you relate to people. It's really sweet. Repeating such phrases multiple times on a daily basis can profoundly affect the way that we view and relate to others. Okay. I'm just going to pause there, see if anyone has any thoughts. Sometimes online you might have something, anyone here, of course.
I have a question, Joel.
Yeah, can you hand the microphone, Laura? Thanks.
Yes, good evening. My question is, looking at other living beings as your mother, is that to be taken as a metaphor that we're being recreated in what we're observing, that what we're experiencing in our life through our observations is refining us, so it is like we're being rebirthed by the situations? Or is it to be taken more literally, that literally in a past life we were in a different relationship with them?
So in this specific practice, it is more of the literal, but within wisdom teachings, right? everything we see is a reflection of our mind, right? Everyone we're interacting with is reflecting our mind. It's reflecting, because how I'm seeing you has a lot to do with my subjective experience, my conditioning, my labeling. And so you get to show me my mind, my biases, my judgments, but also the opportunity to grow, to understand, and to see more clearly. And so moving towards what you were sharing, there's another practice of seeing every being as your teacher. And there you have like a whoa, everything here is showing me, is here to help me. And then you have that relationship with whatever being in that way. What are you here to teach me? What are you here to help me with? And that's a in the line of wisdom practices. Yeah. Okay, well that was easy. We'll go on to her recommendation for the practice itself. And so again, if you're new, these are analytical meditations on the stages of the path to enlightenment. And the idea is that one would take time to ground, relax, to prepare to settle body, speech, and mind. And then when you're ready, you're settled, you'd bring up these thoughts. And the idea is you meditate on them until you get some idea or realization around it. What we do here is we discuss the analytical here and then invite you to try to do that in your life, And if you can do it at home, that's good too. But the practice of bringing this into your world and using it. So we will go with her directions here. So this is written by a nun at Sravasti Abbey. So start by examining your thoughts about rebirth. Do you accept that you had another life before this one and another one before that and so on? So this is just logical reasoning. Does it make sense to you or not? And the answer might be no. It might be, I don't know. I think that's a great answer. Because why would you say no to something you don't know? That just closes the door unnecessarily. You just eliminated every possibility when I don't know. I mean, I use that a lot. I don't know. Buddhism teaches that our mind is a continuum, an ever-flowing stream of thoughts and experiences. This moment's mind is the continuation from the previous moment's mind. Just as today's mind is the continuation of yesterday's mind and so on back to conception. The mind at the moment of conception is the continuation of the mind of the previous life. When that person died, their mind left their body. I don't like that phrasing. Left their body. Not a part of the body. I don't know. I'm getting all judgy on this. I got stuck right there. I just, Let's just go with it. She knows more than I do. When the person died, their mind left their body and connected with a fertilized egg in our mother's womb. Yeah, but there's a whole thing in between that. And before that life, there was another life, and before that, another one, so on. Some people do not accept previous lives because they cannot remember them. If you think that way, ask yourself if you can remember being born, being a baby. Wow, that was kind of jolts you, huh? I don't remember that. I haven't, that's the first time I've heard that reasoning. Wow, I don't remember being, okay. That doesn't mean I wasn't born though, right? Okay. See if you can remember being born, being a baby, taking your first steps, or speaking your first words. I'm pretty sure mine were I'd like some cherry pie, but I'm not. Can't validate it exactly, but it was close.
Keep working.
I'm working it. I'm working every angle on this. This is so going to happen. Uh, so most of us do not remember our early childhood experiences, but that doesn't mean they didn't happen. We can forget something we did this morning or yesterday, but we did do those things. Therefore, not remembering past lives does not prove they do not exist. And there are people who do remember past lives, and their memories can sometimes be verified. Yeah, there's whole books on that. When our mind becomes clearer through practicing meditation, we will also remember past lives. So that's a reference to achieving a shamatha practice. There is actually no proof that past lives do not exist. Therefore, it is possible that they do exist. See if you can put aside your doubts for now and think, maybe it's true. Maybe I have had past lives. Or just, I don't know. But in this one, the idea is to really see if you could connect with that. There's something I want to reflect on. Oh, right. I want to make a interjection. I've said they got fertilized, right? Consciousness. So did consciousness just manifest from conception? Is that where it gave birth to consciousness or not? And is that possible or not? And then there's a whole reasoning that how can mind come from nothing, right? From just the sort of material little thing, consciousness or not. And it's something to explore and play with. Our brain, when it's dead and body's dead, there's no consciousness there typically, right? And then how does it give rise? Is it the circle? So stuff to tease out with that. Is consciousness only coming from previous consciousness or not? So that's another piece that can be added to just explore. Now let's look at the idea that we have been in every possible relationship with every other living being. Bring to mind a friend, someone you care about. Visualize that person in front of you and contemplate what the Buddha said, that you have known this person before in previous lives. You have been in various kinds of relationships with them, including as your mother and child. See if you can accept that this person was once your mother who gave birth to you and brought you up with loving kindness. Oh, I'm so not going to say anything about that. I have like 5 jokes popping up. Now, think of a person you know, but are not close to, like a neighbor or someone at work. Visualize that person in front of you, next to your friend, and again, contemplate that you have known this person before in other lives. This person was your friend, your brother, your sister, your father, and also your mother. If doubts come up in your mind, ask yourself if you can prove that it's not true. Can you be 100% certain that this person was not your mother in a previous life? If you can't disprove it, that means it's possible. See if you can accept this. Now bring your mind to someone you don't like, a person you find irritating or just unlikable. It's best to start with someone just a little bit unlikable. Visualize them in front of you, next to the other 2, and contemplate. I've known this person before in other lives. This person has been my friend, my brother, my sister. This person has also been my father and my mother. Even if you can't feel 100% certain that is true, try to accept that it could be true. Now, whether one can fully adopt that, just imagine how your mind's different, even holding the potential thought that this person I don't like has been helpful to me, has maybe been a mother. I mean, it just shifts the way of being with this person. And then, what are they showing me about why I don't like this person? What's that got to tell me about me too? So there's some big shifts that can take place. And so it said this is one of the most difficult ones to get a full realization in all of Lamrim. And you can already probably see why. But that's why we start with equanimity. So the teachings on equanimity, seeing the value in others, seeing how we're all in this boat together, seeing how we all have something to offer, and others have helped us. That ground zero lays the groundwork for the potential for this one to make sense. And if we're not ready for it, then it goes to, can we see the kindness in others and how they give life to us? Really softens those edges that we have. So something else that was said here. I didn't get this far in the reading. Conclusion. If you are open to the idea of every being having been your mother, resolve to keep that in mind and reflect on it. When you see or meet others, this person was my mother in a previous life. Alternatively, if you can find this idea difficult to accept, don't reject it, but keep your mind open and resolve to explore it further. And so here's where my little play on words comes in. So people say namaste a lot, right? I recognize and see the divine in you, namaste. So we just say mamaste. I recognize and honor the mother in you. And there's even somebody had a sticker, mamaste, it was kind of fun. So we can always recognize and value the mother and all of it. Thank you all for changing my diapers, helping me out, and giving life to me. All right, Martha, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, other things have been occupying time. So hey, John, it's kind of giving me a jolt right now, as I'm just envisioning these possibilities, which as I work about the whole question about rebirth. And it just came just as we were finishing this reading part, and maybe you can comment on, as I thought about this, I'm also thinking that I am the mother. I am the mother of every, and whoa, that's just really kind of stopping me. Can you comment some on that?
I love that. We better buck up. We got a lot of kids to take care of. Yeah. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
And ultimately, to that, I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful thing to think, right? I have this care and compassion for all my children. As you go through the stages, what happens is Jampa Jumpo, great love, great love. You just have this love for all other beings. You just have this deep love, as though this as a mother would have, and so that becomes a result. So again, seven. I'm confusing it with the way I learned it. Originally, it was 6 cause, 1 result, and this is 7 cause and result. 7 cause and result. I learned 6 causes, 1 result, meaning the 7th is the result. But anyway, 7 point cause and effect, or 7, point being, at one point, by going through this, you have this incredible love, Jampa Chempo, great love, that arises in you towards all other beings, and that actually becomes ripened within you, and then of course you're going to do anything for them, which is going to give rise to that great compassion. So that is where we're going. It is absolutely where we're going. Yeah. Thanks, Martha, for bringing that up. That's beautiful. Lisa.
Hi, thanks. Martha, I just want to say 125 bazillion %. That's John, I think you talked about this, I don't know, not all that long ago before too, and seeing all beings as your mother. And my first reaction, like gut visceral reaction, is like, no, 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 no. Because I associate a lot of meanness and cruelty with the word mother. But when I can turn it around and say, all other beings have been my children, that just softens everything. That just, yeah, it's such a wonderful turnaround. So that's the way I've been able to think about it ever since you brought that up a while back. I don't know if that's ideal, you know. I guess it's probably something definitely for me to work on.
Well, it's inspiring. It's inspiring.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
thank you.
the lesson there is to heal relationships, right?
Yeah, if possible.
If possible,
That's, yeah,
a little bit at a time.
a little
Thank
bit. Yeah, thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, any other discussion points? I think we have our work for the week here.
I was trying to get my
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
initially I had been thinking, as we did talk about, this came up in the text at some point, that bodhicitta feels like the love that a mother has for her child, for all beings. And I just thought, wow, that seems really, really out of reach. But Alyssa, I think what you just said, at least there's that softening, and that's the start. But I was thinking before, wow, like, yeah, I intellectually get that that's what bodhicitta must be like, but I just, it seems so out of reach at this point in time. But I think a little window just cracked open.
All right, that's great. Got some fresh air in there. The piece around bodhicitta, great compassion, is yeah, there's this thing that can seem so unobtainable, and we just need to meet ourselves where we're at and take little steps. And it's amazing what can happen over time, how things can transform within us. But the idea that it can't be done is very limiting. The I don't know, or it's possible, or maybe one day. Yeah, that cracks the window, right? Cracks the door. And then we can incrementally see how much kinder we're able to be with a few people that we weren't so able to be with. And maybe a little less judgmental than we used to be with. You know, it's really like that. And then the fertilizer ripens within us. We refine. And as we start to reflect upon and bring these to mind again and again, recognizing that people who are struggling are going to do harmful things. People who are pretty happy are going to do kinder things. Like, you start to notice their people are struggling in their own way, and then it's softer, right? It's softer. We still set our boundaries, do our things, but we don't have that anger and that hatred towards them. And so that's the way it is. It's retraining, right? It's refining. And you know, where's the lessons here? And over time, some of the people that used to be annoying aren't very annoying. You know, sometimes and we just soften and we soften. And over time, it just things that seemed impossible, are very possible. What's the quote? First do what's necessary, then do what's possible. And before you know it, you're doing the impossible. St. Francis of Assisi. I found that true in my life. There's a lot of things I'm doing today I never imagined. I couldn't even speak when I was a kid. I couldn't enunciate, needed speech therapy. There's so many things, that we can learn to do that we didn't think we could do. Yeah. Laura's becoming a painter. Yeah, an artist, very fancy, doing cards and everything. Whipping it out. I do stick figures. Is it possible I can learn? I don't know. Yeah. It's possible. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing with these aspirations. It's the idea that we recognize it. There's a potential, a possibility, and we move in the direction. But if we never move in a direction, we don't ever get there. And that's where the no or this can't happen, that it just shuts doors, as opposed to constantly cracking the window, cracking open, being open in a realistic way about potentials, and watering them. Okay, well, let's dedicate the time, energy, the love, the compassion. It's been cultivated here. A lot of things we could have been doing on a Wednesday evening, and we have been spending time cultivating a path of compassion to be of benefit to others. Great deal of merit that we can dedicate for the benefit of all sentient beings, that they may be free of suffering, that our efforts find its way into the world to be of benefit to them, for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may ultimately recognize the methods to, recognize our own Buddha nature, our own qualities of awakening, and be of greatest benefit to all. And with that motivation, those who care to, you can join in the formal dedication prayer. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare